This is the Running Channel podcast with me, Andy Baddeley, Sarah Hartley over here. And then eagle-eyed viewers will notice that Rick Kelsey over there has made me swap seats because he's so vain he wanted you to see his good side.
Yeah, I got folliculitis.
You mean folliculitis?
Yeah, very good, very good.
Yeah.
So this side's a bit damaged.
Yeah.
Right.
So I thought I'll just swap seats with Andy.
So if you have noticed a difference, well done. Rick does have a good side. If you haven't noticed a difference, well done. It's been confirmed. He's ugly both sides.
I can confirm that every single week. Today we're going to be talking about, do you need to plan every single run that you do? A very important question. Plus we're going to be answering your questions and covering some of the latest news. Let's do it.
So do you plan every single photo that you take, and whether it's your best side?
I feel like he's the master of a social media curation.
Of a tint. Yeah. Have you seen my mug today? It says I try not to laugh at my own jokes, but we all know I'm hilarious.
Do you try not to laugh
Did
at
you
your own
borrow that
jokes?
from someone?
I don't know how it just naturally came to me.
We only noticed that just as you asked me to pass your makeup.
All right,
from
enough
this side.
stick about my folliculitis. Let's. When it comes to stick over the last 7 days, I think it's very, very clear. Out of the three of us, the person who got the most stick because of last week's podcast was Sarah, because she's not watched the film Gladiator.
Yes, unbelievable.
Hey, but you know,
Have you watched it since?
Nope. Watched the trailer this morning though, because I was
Well
getting
done.
some
Did it make
stick.
you feel-
Homework. The amount of emails we got about that.
The trailer is 1 minute and 34
Yeah.
seconds, and that's 1 minute and 34 seconds I'm not getting back. And apparently the film's like 3.5 hours long.
No, it's
Yeah.
not fake news. Fake news. That's the
Well,
sort of
it's
stat that
shorter.
probably Rick Kelsey gave you.
Yeah, it was.
Well, he's gone down that road again. He's gone down. We're in an election period.
Oh yeah, sorry.
We're in an election period.
Rick is an arbiter
careful.
of strict
Be careful.
news
You know
coverage
who I
and
think
fact
would
checking.
be the best person to interview the next Prime Minister? Rick.
Yeah, I think he'd be great. At
We should
being
have
the next Prime Minister.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I've got to get to number 7, haven't I?
He will have fully
Anyway.
researched it on Wikipedia and maybe a cursory Google.
Definitely on Instagram.
Moving on to more lovely comments of the week. So, obviously, last week we talked about why you run, and it actually generally got a really lovely response from people because it brought back a lot of memories for many folks. I got a message from a guy called Ken Simpson in Godfrey in Illinois in the United States of America. Now, he enjoyed the podcast, but he did say, Rick and the team, you're running like the last man on earth.
I saw this.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Do you know what that means?
What does that mean?
I do. I know that Rick Kelsey, who has interviewed the previous 6 prime ministers, also wrote and composed and released his own song called The Last Man on Earth.
Yeah, it got. But this is so niche from Ken. Like, I don't know how Ken Simpson from Godfrey in Illinois managed to pull this up.
So for the avid listener who wants to listen, how do we find this?
Well, I just don't know how Ken Simpson found it. So, it got played on BBC Radio 1 Extra.
I don't care. How do I find it now?
It's still on YouTube.
Actually,
It's
somewhere.
on
Do
YouTube. And
you
what's it
have-
called? The Last Man on Earth.
The Last Man
by
on
Rick
Earth.
Kelsey, or did you have a stage name?
Do you
No,
own
The Last Man on Earth by Rick Kelsey.
Do you own the full rights to it?
Yeah.
I believe that we're going to put an edit in here and Rick's going to play a little clip from the chorus of The Last Man on Earth. Thanks, Rick.
I just don't know. Genuinely, I don't know how he found that.
Oh, lovely.
So 'cause it's just very niche.
Can you give us just belt out that chorus for us, mate?
Look at the smile on your face.
I'm so happy at putting you in this position. You've made me swap seats and I want to hear on the podcast.
Little excerpt. Do you need me to give you a beat?
And it goes, he's literally can't hold it in. Like Andy, sometimes I can't. He's my boss, but he's so annoying. Like literally, he's like folliculitis.
It's
Is it not like that?
it's like
Is it more like a ballad?
guitar ballad.
It's a guitar ballad. It goes, I'm the last man on earth. I am. I'm the last man on earth today. Cause I'm going away. That's it.
So good.
This is one of those podcast moments where Tom, who works for the Running Channel, is basically in charge of everything that works, is like just laughing behind the camera and. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about running.
Can I talk about running?
Yeah.
Actually, sorry to steal the thunder, but did you
this is gonna
guys
be
run really far at the weekend?
I ran quite far.
Yeah.
No,
Did you run
not
as far as
you.
me?
No, I didn't run as far. No, I didn't. I was going to try and make a funny joke. I can't do
Over
it.
the weekend, I did an event called Endure 24,
Yes.
which meant 24 hours where you could go and run 8K laps.
And as many as you can, right?
It was hard. Hours. Yeah. I don't want to give it away, but if you want to go see my Strava, you can see it. But it is the furthest I have ever run.
The furthest you've ever run? You ran at the weekend?
Yeah.
Hang on a second though. So it's 24 hours, but you can stop.
Yeah. So that was actually, so if I had to complete the distance which I ran, like literally in one go without stopping, like within a race, I don't think I would have been able to do it. But because you can stop,
right,
it's so good. Like, and you actually can go way further than you think you can.
Did you stop?
Yeah. So I took, between most laps, I took like anywhere between like 3 and 6 minutes to shove some food in, have a little sit down, put my feet up, literally 5 minutes straight back out.
Sort of the equivalent of an aid station.
Yeah, kind of like, because we had our running channel gazebo, and because I did it with Tom, James and Mo, and because we were all entered as solo runners, it means that you can camp right next to the route. So it just meant that you can kind of duck out, get all your food, hop back onto the route and then carry on going. So I took one big stop for dinner, had about 2 hours off, and then I slept, and I think at that point, I think I got 6 hours sleep, but I just took it in one go.
Who slept the least out of the running channel team?
I think we all got about the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all got roughly about the same. Tom, to be fair, absolute trooper. Most of us got into bed and didn't end up running in the dark.
And he did.
He kept going until like half midnight,
His
1
video
a.m.
was hilarious, actually, because he did mile 1 in a 24-hour race. And he was like, happy. Mile 5 in a 24 hours, not as happy. Mile 11, why am I here?
There is. Yeah. So we brought Tito, our videographer, as well.
Came out. 11, yeah.
It was hour 11. It was hour 11.
Yeah.
Right.
But like Tito, our videographer, he came, he camped, he got actually like similar amount of sleep to the rest of us. He also, my fastest lap was when he decided to do his long run with us. And he was like, come on, come for a lap. And I was like, okay, but we're going slow. He was like, yeah, fine. 8k loop within like how far we ran within a 24-hour race. I did 8k in 50 minutes. And, and I was like, whoa, and like bear in mind that it is not flat. Like there's a hill called Heartbreak Hill at the end.
It's also not a road, is it? It's a trail.
All trail. Absolutely brutal.
Well, I feel like we need a, quite funny, I'll admit, but nonetheless, running channel disclaimer here, which is that you talked a little bit about your Achilles problems on the last few weeks on the podcast. And yes, you're laughing, but we need to own up to the fact that we know what we should do at the running channel. Do we always take our own advice?
No.
And Sarah's Strava graph, the progress graph, is an incredible example of. I texted you last night with a screenshot of it with like, textbook Achilles rehab, which is 5k a week for. It wasn't, but 10 or 20k a week for 5 or 6 weeks, and then bang, the amount that you ran on, which we're not giving away, right? How far
no, can't give it away, but it was a long way. What's interesting though, so we did the video with Garmin, and so we were like diving into all of the stats, and my run time versus walk time is literally 50-50. So I think, yes, what I did, I would not advise it if you've had an Achilles problem, but the rehab that I had done had meant that how far I did run was completely pain-free, and then walking I've never had a problem with, like for my specific Achilles issue. And it just goes to show, like with breaks and with rest, like how far you actually can go. One stat that is incredible though, stay tuned for the video, is our stamina scores are not something to be proud of.
So I'm sure I will get Rick to do the technical explanation of stamina.
Yeah, what's stamina?
It's measured in 5s.
No, it's not.
No. I've got 15 staminas left. You mentioned Garmin though. I've got a little treat for both of you, a little prop for our our video viewers, and I'll do a description in a minute.
What is that?
I sent a message to the Running Channel group chat the other day of I found a picture on my phone of this, and what I'm holding is my watch that I basically did all of my training in for my professional career. It's looking a little bit beaten up because that's had about 15 batteries changed. You can't charge it. It is old coin cell battery.
You know what's funny though is so there are bits that have rubbed off. So I think that it used to have the New Balance logo at the top.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Why is the set and mode like writing almost rubbed off, but the start and split bit fine?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Did you not lap your watch very much?
Well, I don't know. That's a good point.
I would have thought it would be the other way around.
I used it for everything because in back when this was I didn't ever run with a GPS watch, really. That's also a heart rate monitor. So on selected runs, I would have worn a heart rate strap.
So
and then,
cool.
Actually, the back's cool, isn't it?
It's just a regular stopwatch. It's a regular stopwatch with a lap and a split button, and that's all I needed. And that's what I did everything on.
It
heart
looks
rate
quite
monitor,
spacey, though.
water
like
resistance for 50 metres.
NASA astronaut wore in the 60s or something.
In the 60s. This is only like 15 years ago.
Was it always yellow?
Oh, no, that's supposed to be white.
Oh, I see.
And it goes back to Andy.
I don't think it wasn't sweating on the top of the watch. I think it's the sun damage.
Right,
let's say sun damage.
Yeah, let's say sun damage.
Okay.
Right.
Well, we're supposed to be talking about whether or not every run that you did had a purpose, or I suppose do you plan every run?
Yeah. What about Rick? Do you plan every run?
He didn't plan anything. other than in this next hour, how many mirrors am I going to pass to check out my reflection?
Well, have you ever gone out for a run where you haven't planned the time or the distance?
I would say I don't plan the route of every run that I go on, but I would plan the distance. So I'll probably say, right, I'm going to go out for 10K today. I'm going to go out for 8K today. And I will roughly know a route that I'm going to take, but I certainly wouldn't. I'd just see where it takes me. I'd aim to get back to my front door by the number that I have planned. So if I'm going for 8K, I just keep running till I got there.
Didn't you start that by saying you planned the route but not the distance?
Yeah, no, I planned the distance and not the route.
Okay, my bad. I need to listen better.
Yeah, plan the distance, not the route.
That makes sense.
What about this? How many times, because I'm very much guilty of this, how many times do you have a plan and you replan on the run and the run becomes shorter? So like you've set out to do 10K, you're like, oh, not feeling this, 8 or 6 or 5.
So basically, because certain things are happening and you're going, right, I actually can't get through this. This happened to me last week. What blows my mind is you can be in fantastic shape training wise, and
are you still talking about you here?
Anyone in general. Okay. So you can be feeling good and you're like, right, I'm going to go and do a 10K because I was running say 4:45 a kilometre last week, and then all of a sudden there is no rhyme or reason to it, but you'll run 30 seconds slower per kilometre and you're in good shape. You've had a clean night the night before. You know,
clean night. Does that mean you've had a shower or you haven't had Gabby?
You haven't had any Gabby.
Right,
you know, and so then, in answer to your question, yes, I probably would bring it down on the race. Would you? On the run?
I would love to get to the stage though. I feel like there are always going to be some runs where you're just going like, oh, you know what, today I'm just not as good as I felt at the start. But I would like to get to the stage. I've definitely started runs where I should have planned to go shorter. For whatever reason, lack of sleep or still feeling a bit stiff from the session you've done before. Like, you know, you're pushing it too far with what you'd originally planned. And I'll still go like, nah, it might all click together. Whereas I feel like it's so much better to go out with low expectations and then succeed. Is that the right word?
Yes.
Exceed your expectations.
Oh, wow.
Can you tell her I'm for 24 hours?
Well, succeed would have worked. You know, succeed would have worked.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish I was the last man on earth.
What about you, Andy? Do you plan every run?
It's been different periods of my running journey, both during my career and then now. I've done both. There's a real reward to just, you know, the period pre-Christmas where you really struggled with your running mojo.
Yeah.
And I've had periods like that. And sometimes the kids will be driving me nuts, or you just had a tough week at work and I just need to get my shoes on and get out. And sometimes thinking about what it is that I'm going to do makes me procrastinate and slows that down. So sometimes I have thrown on a pair of shoes, grabbed my running kit, not in that order. That'd be weird. Then you really would be a psychopath.
Oh my God.
If you did sock shoe, and then put your shorts and t-shirt on.
I met a psychopath at the weekend.
Oh, really?
I was running along the route. I turned to someone and he was like, I'm really sorry. I've just changed my socks and shoes. And I went sock shoe.
Oh.
And I was like, it's a good job Andy's not here.
Yeah.
Well, I thought someone said you were going to say like on a lonely section of the trail after 24 hours in the dark, someone approached you. I'm a psychopath. Yeah,
no.
Dangerous. So no, that I think going out and just doing that, and I have done a few runs where, and funnily enough, I always end up running a lot further than I think I would have done if I planned it, because I'm just like exploring, looking at fields.
You never planned it. You stayed at mine a couple of weeks ago and just said, right, I'm going to go and do 20K. Yeah. And you just went and ran around North London until you got where you needed to go.
Well, yes, that was fairly last minute planning, but I still knew how far I wanted to run. And then I did put it into my watch and then throw a route onto my watch, which I then adapted on the route because it was not as good as I thought I could have enjoyed around that location.
I do think though I feel like for so many people there'll be a time and distance planner over route planner. I would love to become more of a route planner, where I'm like, once you've like lived in an area for a certain amount of time and you kind of know roughly like how far stuff will be. Like I have an 8K loop that I do and I have a 10K loop that I do. And when I first started doing them, I was just like, because I live in London, I was like, right, I'm going to run along the river, cross that bridge, come back home and see how far that's taken me.
Well, that's quite flat because you run along the river.
Yeah.
So,
what's wrong with
which
that?
is quite a nice 8K.
Oh,
whereas it's quite specific here, but North London's very hilly. So you're constantly... You're all going up and down.
Oh yeah, the hills of North London. Woo!
London is a hilly city.
On par with Wales, you might say, in terms of hilliness of Scotland.
When I ran from your house, it was surprisingly hilly.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll give him that. I think that the
hills of North London. I'm sorry, there are going to be so many people raging right now.
People in the Alps.
Yeah, if you're listening to this whilst on a hill, I apologise profusely.
Yeah, hilly. Let's say it's undulating.
Undulating.
Yes,
undulating. Some minor bumps and hiccups.
Ali Pali's a big hill.
Yeah.
That's a big hill.
That's steep.
That is a big hill. And how often do you run that?
Regularly.
Really?
Yeah.
Sarah does not believe that.
I shall be on your Strava later.
When I was running professionally, I was really, obviously that's a bit different because it's your livelihood, so everything has to be planned to a T. And I took a lot of the planning out of it by, obviously I was running with this lovely watch, I've just put somewhere, this lovely watch, which didn't tell me how far I was running. But I knew routes that would take me a certain amount of time. And most of my training was by time, apart from the intervals. So my Sunday run was 90 minutes. It was how far I covered in 90 minutes. But broadly on my easy and steady run days, I had just had 5 or 6 routes. And that was my Monday run day. And then I had my Wednesday route. And then it just took however long it took. And so if that 1 hour run on a good day might be like 55 minutes and a bad day might be 65 minutes.
So I suppose in answer to your question, do you need to plan every run? You don't.
Well, I was going to say, if someone's in a bit of a running rut right now, what is there? Because there's so many things that you could add to make the planning of a run like quite laborious in terms of like, what shoes are you going to wear? Are you going to take headphones? What are you going to listen to? What are you going to wear? Where are you going to go?
Or The Last Man on Earth by Rick Kelsey. Those two things.
I'll repeat.
I feel like he's on form today.
He is. He's really on form.
Not sure whether that's good or bad form.
No, I don't like it. A bit too quick. But there's so many things that you could think about. What, for you guys, is the bare minimum if people want to plan every run? Or in order to run well, do you not need to plan at all?
I think you will run so it depends on your mental health, mental state as to whether you need to plan to that degree. So some people I think would need to plan it in order to make sure it happens regularly and to keep coming back every week. That degree of planning is what will help you get consistency. But if you are just in a real rut and you're worried that you might not go out, or you're like, what's the point? Like, why am I going out today? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Just put your shoes on and go out the door and let's see. Maybe start walking. But I do think that to get the most out of your running, every run should have a purpose. Even if that purpose is to blow the cobwebs away and kind of clear your mind and just run, that's a purpose. But generally, if you're trying to improve your running by showing up a little bit more every week, by running a little bit further, or by getting faster, then splitting your week into days where you clearly know what each day is for. And then you can still jumble those around if you have a bad night's sleep and you don't want to do an interval session. But give each one a purpose. This run's going to help me get faster. This one's going to help me run a bit further. This one's going to help with my mental health. This one I'm going to be thinking about running form. And then we always talk about breaking it down into intervals, workouts. Maybe it's a tempo and threshold separately. Easy runs, steady runs, long runs. Like, give each of those runs a reason as to what you're trying to achieve from it.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, which you do a lot, but I'm going to sound like I'm surprised. I think like the more you plan, potentially the more motivated you're able to be, because you've got that either like, oh, are you going to run with someone else? You've got that appointment to be there. Why I find that I am so much more likely to do things if I've like thought about it, I've like manifested it, I've pictured it in my head. I'm going to go do this track session on Wednesday night here. It's going to be this. I'm going to wear this. There's so many things that you have to do to unravel that in order to not do it. But equally, I met a really lovely guy at the weekend who I walked a whole lap with, and he hates training, but he was on like 264 marathons or something that he'd done, and he was trying to make the 300 marathon club, which is incredible. And he was like, yeah, I've now got to the stage where he's like, I'm not chasing times. I just love the event side of things. So that's his like reason to keep going. He just keeps planning in events, turning up, having a go, and he loves it.
That's the Paul McGrath theory, which I told you about a couple of weeks ago. You know, the old Aston Villa football player who couldn't train. Mm-hmm. So he just basically played in the Premier League every Saturday, but couldn't train.
Love that, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it was him that I did the lap.
Might be. Yeah.
That was me for a long time post-retirement as well. I could just not find either the time or motivation or like wasn't sure my body would withstand it, but would just show up every Sunday to run with the guys who I had been training with previous to retiring, and then sort of built my way back up to just being able to do an hour or 90 minutes with them on a Sunday and wasn't really doing anything else. And that got me through the week. But then now I've decided I want to chase this 5K at the moment. We're only 2 days away from that, terrifyingly. As we record this, and starting, I had forgotten about it, and I've reminded myself, and now I've got that surge of adrenaline and nerves and all the good stuff.
Maybe that's why he was in a good mood, because it's race week.
It's basically tapering.
There's a lot of exciting things happening at the moment.
Yeah. There is. It's almost too much to keep up with. But very clearly since January, every run that I've done has had a purpose and has been planned, and I'm much more likely to show up and do it if I lay my kit out the night before or pack my bag and take that kit with me to work and then have it booked into my calendar to run at that particular time. Otherwise it just gets pushed and then you swap it to the next day and the next day.
That's a nice synopsis, I think, to this whole question. Giving every run, every time you step out the door, a purpose. What is it? And the purpose can be simple. Like you say, it can be to keep fit, to maintain my fitness, to feel better, to clear my head. Yeah. It can be the most simple purpose, but if you've got a purpose, that's a reason to plan it.
Yeah, and if it's your wife, it's just to get out of the house and get away from you.
Yeah, damn right. Yeah, we both do a lot of running nowadays.
Oh, well, on that note, you're listening to the Running Channel podcast. Up next, we've got news followed by your questions. And please do email in podcast@therunningchannel.com. Do you plan every run? Got any advice for us? Let us know.
So we've got non-elite and elite news this week. And Andy, you've got both of them.
Yeah, first up, there's a lot of racing happening at the elite level. So it's the European Championships at the moment in Rome, taking place over, I think, 6 days over there. Mm-hmm. I think it started off incredibly hot and then was raining when I was watching it last night. Have you guys been paying attention, been watching?
I've been watching the coverage on social media.
Okay.
Just absorbing it in short form because I'm young. I just can't believe how late all of the races are. But I'm guessing there's a slight time difference.
They're an hour ahead, but that still meant that, so Dino Asher-Smith won the gold medal in the 100 metres last night at 10 o'clock UK time. So I think that was 11 o'clock local time in Rome.
Crazy though.
Whoa.
Yeah. So,
but then we were talking about you running at 10 o'clock. I think it was in Norway, wasn't it? Yeah. So it is late though.
Yeah. Well, and what was really cool, I think, watching the footage, you can almost see it getting dark. And then for the start of, I specifically remember it for the women's 100, they'd turned all the floodlights off and just had the spotlights on the start line. And on each individual person as they
That's cool.
Yeah, it did look amazing. So yeah, incredible run from Dina. I think she just dipped under 11 seconds, 10:99. Over the last few days, we've also had George Mills from UK. He won silver medal in the 5,000 metres behind Jakob Ingebrigtsen, which was, I thought, pretty cool. He's normally a 1,500 metre runner, so to see him stepping up was amazing. You also, I think you were watching all the results. There was the half marathon team event.
Yeah, really cool to watch. And Callie Thackeray.
Yeah, Callie Hauger Thackeray, she is now, I think, led that team to a half marathon team gold. So in that, I think you add up the first 3 runners from your country across the line, you add up their time, lowest cumulative time wins.
Which is really cool to have I don't know, I feel like so much of athletics, obviously you've got 4x100 where it is a team, but so much of it is individual sport that to see team golds in long distance is very cool.
Yeah, and she won the individual bronze as well. So that's really exciting. So I'm trying to whiz through this. From Ireland, Ciara Mageean, who's been a guest on this podcast out in Budapest at the World Champs last year, she won her first senior gold medal. Yeah. And bear in mind, Ireland hadn't won a medal at the Europeans in 26 years or something like that.
She's such a good laugh as well.
She was really
good. Off camera, she was so nice, so funny.
Really, really
so
nice.
in the space of a few days, they'd the mixed relay team from Ireland won gold, and then Ciara won gold, which is really exciting.
Very cool.
I've got one last one, which is just that the NCAA championship has been taking place in the US, which is the peak of the collegiate sport out there. Bear in mind that level of competition at the collegiate level in the US is the equivalent to at least the Olympic trials in most other countries. It's such a high level of competition. And a breakthrough star called Louis Hinchcliffe from Great Britain became the first European to win the 100-meter title at the NCAAs in the US.
Oh, wow. So this is So it might be a case that he got sponsored by a college out in the States and went out there.
Yeah, you get scholarships and so on. I think he's moved around between colleges actually, but this was his first year at the University of Houston. And he moved there to be coached by Carl Lewis, the legendary sprinter, former world record holder. Cool. And then within the space of a year, he's run 995, which I think puts
so remember
him
his name because we're talking non-elite at the moment, but in a year's time, that might be something else.
Well, no, he's run 995, so he's the sixth fastest Briton ever.
Wow.
But he's only in the college system.
Yeah. But he'll come back now, and the UK trials for the Olympics in Paris are, I think, the 29th of June. So he's got like 2 or 3 weeks to get ready, which traditionally is quite difficult for the US collegiate system. They start racing back in like March, April, which is really early. So it's very hard to keep going, but you wouldn't bet against him making a team for GB.
I find it mad to think that with shorter distances, you are just constantly racing.
Yeah.
Oh,
good news. Is there more news?
Well, there's one more piece, which is totally different, but it follows on. It's a lovely follow-on to a very sad piece of news that we covered last week, which is the sad passing of Rob Burrows.
Yeah.
Very close to our heart in terms of the cause that we were raising money for Running Home for Christmas with Rick last year. But we got a lovely message from a chap called Matt Biggs, who emailed in, basically just sending us a few pictures and a summary of a tribute run that took place last week in Leeds, on the streets of Leeds, called the Rhino Tribute Run, because he played for Leeds Rhinos. And just a massive shout out. One, hundreds of people showed up to show their solidarity. Lots of people resonate with the cause and with him. But also, one of the best pieces of Strava art ever. It's an incredible... The route that had been planned and all of these people ran together drew out a beautiful rhino around the streets.
That's so cool.
Oh,
so go and check that out if you haven't seen it.
So that was promoting your own disease, and that was it was lovely. It was just off the cuff. These guys did it. So and they invited us down as well. So if we possibly could have been there, we would have. And
just a personal note, I saw in the days after the news last week, I saw his last message that he'd recorded, which was, I was crying watching it, but also it had the desired effect, which he's had on a lot of people, which was to inspire you to go and actually, I suppose, live your life, give your kids a hug.
Yeah,
that took me a while. Obviously,
it was about to remember every day that you were healthy, to embrace that day, and enjoy it, because you never know how long you got.
Yeah. So, I guess just thanks for sending that in, Matt, because that was a lovely sort of reminder of everyone coming together to celebrate something amazing.
Should we do some questions?
Yeah.
Let's do some questions.
Ashley from Australia. I'm a dad in my early 40s with a sensible number of children, and I took up running for the first time.
That was two.
About 10 months ago. My training's gone well, thanks in part to your YouTube videos, and I can now run 5K in 25 minutes and 10K in around 55. I completed my first race recently and was chuffed to come second in my age category.
Nice.
Really enjoyed the challenge, and I've entered another race, 5 kilometres in 5 weeks' time. When I looked at the course elevation, I realised it has some hills. In my training, I've managed to avoid hills so far. I come to North London.
Good job.
With the new race coming up, I decided to find a similar hill to the course and run up it. I see where he's going with this. After about 100 metres, I totally lost the will to run or even live, and realised that while 5 minutes per kilometre on flat is okay for me, even trying for 7 to 8 minutes per kilometre on a moderate hill causes me to grind to a halt. Ashley from Australia.
And then he's asked, what session should I work into my training to improve my performance on hills? Note, my current weekly training is 2 easy sessions of 45 minutes and a speed session, either intervals or thresholds. I really sympathise. Hills are awful. And a 5K as well. Brutal.
I'm also grateful for you picking up on the fact that Rick can't turn over a piece of paper, so you read the rest of the question for him, which was great.
Hey, that was seamless. It was almost like that was planned. We didn't even talk about it.
Worked quite well.
As he was going,
we were just sharing the load, Andy.
I just felt you turn the bit of paper over, and I was like, there is absolutely zero chance. Like, I would bet £1,000 that Rick will not turn it over. And you didn't. It's all right, got you back, mate.
There you go, mate. Always there for each other, together forever.
Yeah. So
until we're the last man on earth.
Yeah. Oh, very good. We're on fire.
Sorry. Advice.
Yeah, I think it depends on how, if you're really feeling like you're grinding to a halt, that sounds like you've gone from nothing to kind of tackling fairly tough hills straight away. It's normal to feel like that. I guess ideally you would choose a slightly undulating course like you might get in the north of London, where the hills aren't particularly challenging, but they do put your heart rate up. I'm just trying to wind Rick up here. But no, you're looking for hills that put your heart rate up out of that kind of, he said here that his average on his easy runs is 140.
Yeah.
I say he, actually I don't know. Ashley.
Yeah, Dad.
Oh, Dad, yeah. So put your heart rate up and don't worry about that. If you need to walk a little bit, put your hands on your legs to help yourself get up those hills, then that's fine. But I would say that's probably means you've tackled hills that are a little bit too steep in those easy runs. Rick's got his hand up.
I feel his pain.
Yeah.
And Andy's advice here is absolutely spot on. Can I just suggest something that this is very specific to anyone in his situation? I think he's got a bit of a fear of these hills now. So what I would do, what I did when I came back from injury.
Why am I so scared of what Rick's about to say?
This is actually a decient suggestion.
If you hear us say goodbye straight after this, know that whatever Rick said got cut.
This is how I work with the physio.
Yeah.
Instead of getting out there, I did something which most people don't like doing. I got on the treadmill and I just put it on 1.5. So all my flat running, I was always doing a little incline to get me into it.
To be fair, actually.
So I would try that first. Do 5K at 1.5 or 2.
Yeah.
If you do have access to a gym as well, a lot of ultra runners use the stair climber. Is that what it's called? Yeah. Or even just doing incline hill walks. Yeah. The other thing I would say though is that, so I think they said that they went out on a hill that is similar to the course. If you're finding it hard, there is no shame in walking up hills.
No.
Like quite often you can walk up a hill faster than you can run up a hill. So if it is super hilly and actually you would be faster kind of speed hiking it, then practice that as well. If you can find a similar hill and actually time yourself running up it versus walking up it, if it's similar, it might be easier to walk up it and then jog off it.
Yeah, basically just remove your ego from going for a run on undulating routes. Try and pick a route for your easy runs that one of your runs each week is slightly hillier. So you've got some ups and downs in there, but not crazy hills where you're like massively out of breath. If you're running at 140 hop rate, you might want to go up to 160 during those hills. And then swap some of your interval sessions out or threshold sessions out for either short hill sprints, so 30 seconds up a relatively steep hill.
Yeah.
But you still need to run with good running form. So it shouldn't be the kind of hill that is so steep that you would want to walk up it.
Into a hole,
or longer hills with much longer recovery. So 2 or 3 minute hill efforts at probably more like threshold pace and intensity.
Yeah.
And then walk back down. So you're going to probably end up with 5 or 6 minutes recovery between each one.
Oh, lovely.
Let's squeeze in one more.
Ooh, okay.
We've got permission from Rick.
Rob from Southampton.
Hello.
I'm taking part in a mile relay race in a couple of months' time. Can you recommend specific training that would best prepare me to run a mile as fast as I can without blowing up at half a mile? He says he's a huge fan of the podcast.
Definitely loves the banter.
Oh,
as
hello.
do we.
Hey, look at you finishing my sentences.
We're just chalk and cheese.
To run a good mile, you need to do stuff that you wouldn't normally do as a kind of, if you're training for, even 5K or 10K. So you need to do efforts that are a minute or less or 400 meters or less. So the shorter stuff to get your legs turning over at a pace which is fast enough to run your best mile. So that's the first thing is you need to be able to have almost like a gear that is faster than what you want to run to the mile. Same logic as everything else. If you're training for a 5K, you need to do stuff faster than 5K pace so that your 5K pace feels okay. Same for the mile. And then the other part of it is what we'd always called speed endurance. Broadly, you've got to tolerate lactate whilst running at a mile in a way that you don't have to for the 5K or the 10K. And that's what hurts you when you get to halfway at 800 meters, is your legs are so heavy if you've gone too hard or haven't done the training to operate anaerobically, Rick.
Yes. So you need to be pacing yourself essentially very tightly. Yeah,
to pace yourself tightly in the race, but then you just need to do longer efforts in training. And the faster stuff, maybe 200 meter efforts. Then you need to be doing staple 1500 meter work, like 8 or 10 times 400 meters with a very short recovery. So 60 to 90 seconds recovery.
Yeah.
And ideally targeting roughly your mile pace for that. And that's tough. That's really hard.
That's a really nice one for a challenge. Have we done that?
Your fastest ever mile?
Yeah, as a challenge, as all of us.
Sarah does not look keen for this.
No, you don't look keen? I think that's a good one.
I think we could do that, yeah.
I think that's a nice video.
Andy puts everyone through a mile workout that I used to do.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I think I'm busy that day.
That was fun.
Last tip,
go on.
It says about blowing up at halfway. You always need to just, in your mind, get to halfway in a mile without thinking about it too much, because it's that third lap. If you're on a track, it's four laps. So you're from 1 mile to from half a mile to 3/4 of a mile. that's the bit where you have to push really hard just to keep going at the same pace. And it feels like you have to change gear and you just end up staying the same pace. So be mentally ready for that.
Super. Thanks for your company.
You too.
Do you have a favour?
I do have a favour to ask. So I would like people to email in podcast@therunning.channel with questions that they specifically want to ask us, but it doesn't necessarily have to be about running. Any questions at all, because we are working hard in the background on an exciting project that you hopefully will be able to see very, very soon. And it involves questions. So any questions that you want to know about the three of us, ask away, and you might be able to hear it one day.
A good example of this, a few people put in last week's video on the comments was, can you tell us how you all started out at the Running Channel? Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, like any questions like that. It can be related to running, the Running Channel, us.
It's like Andy gradually came out of the shadows.
Like how
he did just sit behind a desk, and then all of a sudden his face popped up a little bit, and he's like, I like this. I like
Similar
this.
actually, like what do you want to know about the other presenters? Or the Running Channel in general? Or do you want to know how did the music video come together for Last Man on Earth?
I can tell you, it was shot in Notting Hill.
Was it?
Outside my old flat.
Great. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.